Hello and welcome to Austin Anderson's 2013 Super Bowl preview. In today's episode, we're going to break down the position battles, a few key storylines, and of course, give my final prediction for the game. Let's start with a few storylines, such as Ray Lewis apparently cheating. No one would have ever thought, but he is accused of using some sort of deer antler spray to recover quicker from his torn triceps suffered back in week 9. The Ravens are quickly dismissing this as just someone trying to distract them from their goal. This, of course, is the first Super Bowl to ever pit two brothers against each other in Jim and John Harbaugh. Let's go right down into breaking down each position. At quarterback, we've got Joe Flacco out of the University of Delaware against Colin Kaepernick from Nevada. Flacco a first-round pick, Kaepernick a second-round pick just last year. As you know, Kaepernick was inserted midway through the season to replace Alex Smith, who was concussed and coming off an 18 for 19 performance. Flacco claimed earlier in the season that he was an elite quarterback, similarly to how Eli Manning did before his Super Bowl run. Coincidence? With his ability to use his legs and run the read option, defenses haven't figured out how to stop him, and I'm not sure the Ravens can do it in just a few weeks. Let's move to running backs, where the Ravens have Ray Rice and Bernard Pierce, not to mention Vontae Leach at fullback. But the Niners have the Miami product, Frank Gore, as well as the Michael James, the speedster from Oregon. Ray Rice hasn't always been getting the touches he had, but with new offensive coordinator Jim Caldwell calling the plays and Cam Cameron being dismissed, he has been more involved, including his 4th and 29 miracle, which might have propelled them to the Super Bowl earlier in the season against the San Diego Chargers. But Frank Gore is steady, while Michael James is fast. I do give the nod to the Ravens because I'm a big Ray Rice fan. And not to mention Vontae Leach, the fullback, which we are including in the running backs category. Wide receivers, Torrey Smith, Anquan Boldin, and Jacoby Jones against the sure-handed Michael Crabtree, the aging but the best wide receiver to ever play the game. His words, not mine, Randy Moss. I am giving the nod to the Ravens because of unbelievably fast Torrey Smith, usually sure-handed Anquan Boldin, and special kick returner, punt returner, and special receiver Jacoby Jones over, Crabtree and the aging Moss. Vernon Davis versus Dennis Pitta and Ed Dickson, the tight ends of the group. With Vernon Davis nearly disappearing in the offense until basically last week, tallying 1 or so catches every game, he did disappear. But he is one of the best tight ends in the league. He did come from Maryland, and that's why I pick him over the combination of the Oregon and BYU products. Offensive line. The Ravens have an offensive line of Bryant McKinney, Marshall Yanda, Matt Burke, Kelechi Osinwe, and Michael Orr. That, of course, is going up against Joe Staley, Mike Iupati, Jonathan Goodwin, Alex Boone, and Anthony Davis. No, not that Anthony Davis. No, the other one, out of Rutgers. Well, Orr hasn't really gotten better since his rookie season, when he was basically pronounced the next great offensive tackle. I believe he is steady, and his move to the right side benefits him greatly. A few aging fellas, such as Matt Burke and Marshall Yanda, are still extremely steady, and I'd say quite powerful. Not to mention the old geezer, Bryant McKinney over on the left side. I'm going with the Ravens offensive line over the likes of emerging Iupati and always steady and always dominant Joe Staley. Defensive line. Both these teams run 3-4s, so they really have a limited sample size to pick from. So basically I say it's down to this. Justin Smith against Haloti Ngata. Justin Smith last year became the only player to be named to the All-Pro team in 2 positions, at defensive end and right there in the middle at defensive tackle. On Haloti Ngata's defensive line, John Bones Jones' brother, Arthur Jones. But on Justin Smith's defensive line, they've got Ray McDonald and Isaac Sapoga. I'm giving the nod to the Niners. Some would say barely, but I believe, honestly, in every position they are better, including Justin Smith over Haloti Ngata. Now moving to the most intriguing battle of all, the linebackers. With the Niners, Patrick Willis and sack monster Alvin Smith will go along with dominating Navarro Bowman and Ahmad Brooks. This is one of the best linebacking corps I can remember in my lifetime, which, small, maybe 15 years, going on 16. Feel free to get in your present. But it's just too much for Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Darnell Olembe. In the secondary, we've got Carlos Rogers, Deshaun Goldson, and Dante Whitman. Going up against the depleted secondary, Noah Darius Webb of Ed Reed, Bernard Pollard, and Kerry Williams. With a Hall of Famer, a guaranteed Hall of Famer Ed Reed, I just have to go with the Niners. What? Yeah, the Niners. I believe they're better everywhere, including at corner. Ed Reed is still a very good player, and I have him ahead of the 49ers safeties. But I just can't give the nod to Bernard Pollard. He's a good player, heavy hitter, but I believe the 49ers secondary is better than the Ravens, and it just is. I can't do much about it, and neither can you. Let's move to our favorite segment of the show, where we talk about special teams. Kickers, punters, long snappers. No, I'm kidding with the long snappers. But with David Akers struggling to even buy a field goal off of his left foot, I have to give it to Justin Tucker. But this is where it evens out a little bit. Andy Lee is the best punter in the NFL. Sam Cook is good, but Andy Lee's just great. And this is what we call a tie. But do we settle for ties in football? Well, the Niners and the Rams do, but not us. So we moved it to the second battle of the losers. David Akers against Sam Cook, and I'm giving the nod to Samuel L. Cook. Mostly because of David Akers' incredible inconsistency, which, for his sake, I kind of hope he comes up big with maybe even a game winner, just to get his confidence back and maybe retire on a good note. I'm not sure he can come back or will be able to come back after the season he just had. And the coaches, Jim and John. Jimmy Johns. Sounds good right now. But Jim and John are who we're debating. Well, it's kind of me. I'm kind of debating myself. There's nobody else here. But Jim and John. I'm actually more of a Subway guy. So remember when we said no ties? So how are we going to determine who's better, Jim or John? Well, Jim did take a terrible team and make them unbelievably fantastic. But John has been in the playoffs 5 times, and he's been to the NFC Championship game 3 times. It's his first trip to the Super Bowl. But, I'm gonna have to give him a tie, a push. Oh, what? Yeah, a push. I'm pushing it right down the middle. Hello, push. I thought you said no tie. Forget about it. Haven't you ever heard the saying, do as I say, not as I do? Well, whatever. Push. So if I'm counting correctly, let's see, that's... six to 5 categories in favor of the 49ers. San Francisco 49ers. So here comes the moment you've all been waiting for. My pick for the MLB season. Coming up in the MLB preview in roughly 2 months. Let's move back to the Super Bowl, where I have a final score of 23-20. And when I'm right, I like to brag about it. So, if you remember my 2012 NFL preview, I had the 49ers cutting down the Nets, which doesn't really translate to the NFL, but I had the 49ers hoisting Vince Lombardi's trophy, and why back out now? 49ers are Super Bowl 47 champions, 23-20. That's it for this week's show. You guys enjoy yourselves out there. Thanks for watching.